Welcome to the Mermaid Mama. My name is Hannah, and if this is your first time here, I do videos on living waste-free, veganism, minimalism, conscious parenting, and living in the Gold Coast of Australia. So make sure you click that little red subscribe button below so that you don't miss out. There's Toto barking in the background. Toto, come here, come on. So you don't miss any of my videos, and also my Instagram is @themermaidmama. Hold on, Rose is saying something. Today I'm really excited to film this video because this is about how we sold everything and moved to the tropics. And so we have been living here. When I say we, it's my husband Nick, our son Romeo, who you've probably seen in our other videos, who is almost 5, and we are homeschooling him, and our doggy Toto, who you heard barking before. Do you want to say hi?
And this is me. Hello.
Do you want to sit with me? No?
No.
Okay. And so we moved on January 1st, 2017, and we moved from New Zealand to the Gold Coast of Australia. So it was a big move for us, and it was a move that we had planned. So I just want to talk about how we did it practically, financially, and how quickly we did it, and just some tips for any of you that have a dream location that you want to live in. If you are wanting to do this yourself, I hope that this video can really inspire you to, you know, cultivate a life that you're passionate about in a location that you absolutely love. So why did we move here? First of all, why did we move to the Gold Coast? So New Zealand is a beautiful, beautiful country, but it's very cold. For most of the year, it's pretty cold. And we realised after living in Wellington for 2 years, so my husband and I grew up in Christchurch, and then we moved to Wellington when Ro was 2, and we realised after living there for 2 years that we wanted to be in a warm place. We wanted warm weather year round, and I particularly wanted access to like an abundance of cheap tropical fruits, and that's definitely available here. It's not available in New Zealand because you can't really grow tropical fruits in New Zealand because of the weather. And we wanted a lifestyle that was so rich in nature. We wanted to be outside all the time, which is largely what we do here. We wanted to be outside as much as possible, going to the beach and swimming in the ocean, and you know, going on waterfall walks and just exploring nature. And it's not that you can't do that in New Zealand, because New Zealand is absolutely abundant with nature. It's such a beautiful place, and I'm really grateful to grow up in such a beautiful country. But it's really cold, and I've always felt the cold quite a lot. We were also fairly stressed out with, we didn't really feel like we had a community where we were living in Wellington, and we really wanted to homeschool Romeo. And for that to be able to work for us in the unschooling method of homeschooling that we have chosen, we really needed to be able to get outside in nature as much as possible. That was really what we needed to make it work. And I just didn't want to do that in the cold. And we were also working, I was working part-time at a job that I really, really loved, but what I really wanted to be doing. So I was working at an animal rights organization called SAFE. It was such an incredible workplace. Beautiful, beautiful humans there, and I loved my job, but I really wanted to be homeschooling Romeo and doing the Mermaid Mama. That was really what I wanted to be doing, and I kind of learnt that in Wellington. And Nick was also working at a job that he didn't like, that was very stressful for him. So that's why we wanted to move. And so let's get to the how. How did we do this? Okay, so when we decided that that Australia was the place that we wanted to move, we looked at both Queensland, like lower Queensland, specifically Gold Coast, and we originally looked at Byron Bay, which is in New South Wales, and it's a wonderful little community there. But we also accepted along the way Byron is quite an expensive place to live. It's also very small, so it's limited for job options. So once we started widening the scope to the Gold Coast, it was a lot easier, and we've actually found that we really, really love living in the Gold Coast for multiple reasons. And so we decided on the location that we wanted to live in, and we just started imagining what it was going to be like. I started a vision board. We talked about it all the time. We poured a lot of love into the conversations that we had about it, you know, imagining what it would be like on a daily basis. What would we be doing today if we were in the Gold Coast? Where would we go? What would we do? How would we feel? You know, how many mangoes would I be eating? And that was so important. That kept us really inspired in the 6 months leading up to our move, and it kept us really focused on moving, and we've just poured so much positivity and love into it, and that I believe it's so important. And then we figured out pretty quickly as well that 6 months was enough time for us to sell everything that we owned, which we realized was a lot more than what we thought we owned. We definitely became extreme minimalists in order to move here, and I am so glad that we've done that. And we also wanted to have enough money to move here so that we had some savings when we moved here, and give Nick time to get a job as well. And like I said, the plan for me was to stay at home like I'm doing now, homeschooling Romeo and doing the Mermaid Mama. So 6 months was just the time frame that we decided was enough time to be able to do that. We just wanted to do it as soon as possible. That was the soonest that we could do it practically. So that was what we did, and we committed to that, and we just started selling, donating, giving away everything that we owned. We owned so much more. We realized how much stuff we had before we moved, and we just got ruthless about what we were taking. What we decided was that in order to get here as soon as possible, we were only going to take what we could take with us on the plane. So we were able to take, so we had our tickets to pay for, and we needed a little bit of money to purchase the very few basic things that we needed when we got here, and have a little bit of living expenses as well. And we also and so in order to do that, we had the allocation of 2 boxes per person. So as a family, we had 6 boxes that we could take with us on the plane, and I can't remember, but they had to weigh, there was a limit to their weight, obviously. And so we just got ruthless about what we were bringing with us, and I honestly really enjoyed this process. I really, really love decluttering and organizing and downsizing. I love it so much. But it definitely challenged me in ways that I did not prepare for. Even the day before we left, we realized that not everything fit. All of our stuff did not actually fit in the 6 boxes that we had, so we were like getting rid of stuff the day before we left and saying, you know, we don't need that. And we just got really, really ruthless about it, because for us, having stuff here was far less important than being able to live the lifestyle that we wanted to live. And and that was really important to us. It was also quite a lot of money to move Toto here. It cost $1,300 for Toto's one-way plane ticket here. In the cabin, you'd think you'd get like a really great seat at that price, but no, it's really expensive to move dogs here, and because you have to take them to the vet, get them all these certificates and everything. But having him with us, he's part of our family. There was no way that we were going to move anywhere without him, and so that was a priority for us over our bringing a whole lot of stuff here. So just prioritize. Figure out what your true priorities are. We knew how many benefits we would reap from this lifestyle, and so we knew that, you know, letting go of some things that we maybe wanted to keep in order to move here was going to be absolutely worth it, and it's definitely paid off. So those are some of the things that we did in order to move, and those are some things that you can perhaps consider if there's somewhere that you want to move. And some other things to consider. So there were some challenges that came up for us. Some of those things was that our family, my family in particular, they were not initially supportive of our move at all. They didn't understand why we wanted to move and change our lifestyle so drastically, because we were both getting paid well for jobs. It seemed like we had a really good lifestyle in Wellington, but we were miserable there, and we knew that, and convincing them of that became something problematic for me. It caused me quite a lot of stress because I really wanted their support for the move, and right up until a few days before we actually left, they were still quite unsupportive of the move. Thankfully they are. Now they're very supportive of the fact that we have moved here, and they can see why we want to live here, which is really nice. But it definitely, for me, the challenge was, being able to learn how to be at peace, which I definitely was not at first. It took me a while to get to this place. Being able to be okay with, not necessarily having everyone's blessing for the move. We had a lot of support from a lot of other people, and just being at a place of acceptance where there are differences of opinions, and that was a huge learning curve for me. And so that was definitely a challenge to overcome. And like I said, they were supportive in the end, which was really, really wonderful. And we were able to stay at my mum's house for a couple of weeks before we left, which we're really grateful for, because it helped us see the family before we left and spend Christmas with them as well. So some other things that came up, some other challenges, were that we didn't get a rental property until we only had secured a rental property 2 days before we moved. So we'd booked flights and everything. Hey Bubba, you can come in the video. And we didn't have a rental house. We only secured one 2 days before we moved here. Which is a lot considering that we have a young child and also a dog. We can't just crash on somebody's couch. We kept really focused on the fact that something was going to manifest, something was going to come up, something really, really perfect, something that was in our budget, that was near the beach, that was little, and something came up that was exactly that description. And I mean, this house is not perfect, but it's been a pretty amazing step in getting here, and it's half the rent that we pay here is half the price for the rent that we were paying in Wellington. And in general, our living expenses are considerably lower. So something else that an obstacle to overcome was that in moving here, we dropped our collective income dropped by 50%. So we've downsized our income as half of what we were earning in Wellington. So we're not earning more money here, we're earning considerably less, and in order to make that work, we just adopted a different lifestyle. We spend even less than we were doing in Wellington, and luckily living expenses are so much cheaper here, so much cheaper. And petrol, food, rent, all of those big things, including things like insurances, all of those things are a lot cheaper here. The only thing that went up was Toto's insurance, and that's just because of his age at the moment. He's 10 years old, aren't you, baby? Hey, baby. He's like, look, just feed me dinner, okay? It's dinner time. And there were some things that we did, like we slept on an airbed. Both Nick and I did, and Romeo, who still sleeps in our bed a lot of the time, but he has his own separate bed. We all slept on airbeds for months on end. instead of going out and purchasing expensive mattresses or beds that we could not at the time afford when we moved here, we looked on Gumtree for free furniture when we moved instead of just going out and purchasing stuff. And we just only bought what was necessary for us, and we spend our time largely doing things that are free, out in nature, exploring, you know. Other than the cost of petrol, those things do not cost us any money. We're not going out and eating out in restaurants like all the time or anything like that, and we are just very conscious about what we spend our money on. I don't just go to the shops and buy stuff for the sake of it. And we were doing that in Wellington to a degree, but because we had a lot more income, we were spending a lot more than we really needed to. And like I said, living expenses in Wellington were quite a lot more. And we buy things like, we purchase our food at local farmers markets, so it's a lot cheaper and locally grown. There's so many ways in which we have reduced our expenditure, and we've made do with things, and they've been absolutely worth it. So that's how we moved to the tropics. That's why we did it. I hope that that's inspired you. If you have somewhere that you'd really like to move to and you think, I just can't do that, you know, keep it in mind, manifest it. You know, what you can imagine in your mind, you can bring to your reality. And once you get that mindset, anything is possible, and any obstacles you overcome are just going to be challenges that teach you, you know, the learning curves. They're all just part of the learning process, and you can absolutely do it. Just figure out the way that you want to do it and commit to it. Give yourself a time frame, work towards it. Simplify your life and figure out what your priorities are, and, you know, find a way to put those into place.
This is my microphone.
It's really cool. What's it made out of?
Duplo.
Do you enjoy playing Duplo?
Mummy.
Yeah.